This meeting is recorded.
All right. Hi, everybody. Thank you all for being with us for our fourth and final, at least for now, get to know your farmer nights. This one is with what? Ziegenwald Dairy? Is that how you say it?
Yeah, that's pretty close. That's pretty good.
Pretty close? Okay. Well, we'll get to the right pronunciation.
That's all
We're
right.
going to have a little bit of an echo here just for a little bit, so bear with us on that. But they've been with Jonesboro Locally Grown literally from the beginning, as far as I understand. They were one of our first original vendors at the Farmers Market, and then they've been selling at Boone Street Market for a long time. So with that very short introduction, I'll mute myself and turn it over to Andrea.
Let's hope that it works. Okay. Here we are. This is Andrea and Jack Woodworth. And we have a picture here. And if you see our video, well, I have COVID hair right now. I need to be trimmed. So we moved down to Virginia in '93. And after that, we started with our goats, and I put all that down here. In 2008, we managed to get our license for a grade 8 dairy, and that lets us process our milk into cheese. We do not buy milk into our dairy, so what our cheese is made of is produced here in Virginia on the farm. We have a variety of cheeses that we offer, and most of it we do the chèvre that you're probably familiar with if you ever got any. We have some Colby. We do feta and mozzarella. Camembert is a kind of a seasonal thing, and I don't make an awful lot of it because once it's made, it ages fairly quick compared to the other cheeses, and it needs to be used because it's a really fresh cheese. And it tends to kind of get runny when it gets real ripe, and that's sometimes an issue. So, and I figured we're going to just take you through a season, and let's get started here. And our goats, they are seasonal breed, which means they only breed one in the fall and in the winter. Here we have one of our dogs having a lookout on top of the hay bale while the goats are eating. As long as they're this big of a round bale, the dog has a good time. Otherwise, she'll have some trouble there. In the fall and winter, like I said, we start breeding. And the cheese-making business in itself is kind of the cheese is basically the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot of other things that have to happen first. Most people buy their milk in the grocery store when they realize it comes from cows or from, whatever. A lot of people are a little bit astonished when they get told that these animals don't give milk just to please their owners, but that they have to have babies first. In order to feed them, they give milk, not because we would like to milk them. So breeding starts out here around early fall and runs through the winter. And eventually, 5 months later, we have our does. They getting kind of on the round side, and they're getting ready to have babies. And at that point, once they have them, here they are, some of them. A lot of times our babies cycle through the kitchen because we hand feed them. They don't stay on their mamas because we do milk. And it's to our convenience that we bottle feed the first few days in the house so that they learn good to drink from the bottle and that they're going to be healthy. And then they migrate out into the barn. Here we go. They have migrated on out there. They drinking good off a bottle, and they managed to get onto a lamb barn, which is a big bucket that they drink of. And let's see if we can get this video going. I hope it does.
While we're waiting for the video to play, Andrea, do you think that you might be able to pick up the phone a little bit and see if we can play with the echo?
this video?
I don't have access to that, unfortunately.
If they want to see that, they can go to our Facebook page.
Well, I hate that because this is a really cute video and it won't play. It plays for me at home on the computer.
Did you say it was on your Facebook page?
Yes, it is on the Facebook page.
Okay. If you go on, I can pull that up real quick, and after the presentation, I'll share it. Does that sound okay?
That sounds fine.
Okay.
Ah, hold on. I've got something coming. It's Truman. Nope.
Get on there. I know you're doing it.
It all started at once. Okay.
There you go. Get back.
Actually, just give it a minute. Maybe it'll come up.
You get back on.
Uh-oh.
It was supposed to work.
All of them are the same flavor, then.
We have sound, but no picture.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Over here.
Maybe if you guys stop sharing real quick. Oh, there it is.
What's the matter, Dorothy? You're too big for a bottle.
All right. Sorry, I accidentally muted your phone, Andrea. Hold on just a second.
Here.
This meeting is being recorded.
Hold on. Hold on. Just drop the phone. Am I still there?
Yes, we can still hear you. You're still here.
Okay, so I just dropped the phone just when it's flying across the floor here. Yeah, we have progressed to the milking part. We milk 6 at a time. It's an automated milking system. The milk goes direct from goes to the cooling tank. And we have to empty that cooling tank at least every 3 days for regulation. And it goes on to the pasteurizer. Here we pasteurize our milk and produce our cheese. This pasteurizer doubles as a cheese vat since it's pretty small, for dairy purposes. This is a miniature. It only holds about 52 gallons, so everybody just chuckles, who's in the dairy business and thinks that we are so cute because we're so little. So anyways, once that milk is pasteurized, and this is Chevron that started in there, that's what it looks like before the whey is drained, and this is how we drain the whey. We empty the pasteurizer, the cheese, they go into big bags, and it hangs over, this is a sink that we use just for cheese. It hangs for about a day for the whey to drain, and then you have your Chevron. And there we work it up, and that's all a manual thing. We do the flavoring in the dairy. We, make sure that that's all worked up and packaged. Here we have the packages that people know, and they get labeled and put in the refrigerator or freezer, depends on how fast we need them. We store most of the Chevron in the freezer once it's worked up, because we have to get through the winter time. The boats will be dry by end of October to get us through to the next milking season. And Here's a little variety of our cheeses. There's some feta, there's the cheddar, and there's a little Colby. And this is it. If you have questions, please ask.
I have at least one, I think. Okay, so how much volume of milk does it take to make one of your 4 or 8 ounce containers of cheese?
Usually we start, right now we still have milk that goes to the baby, so by the time that milk is out of the pasteurizer, we have about 30 gallons left, and that gives us anywhere between 35 and 40 pounds.
Roughly a pound to a gallon.
Roughly a pound to a gallon.
Wow.
And like the Colby, you take about 4 gallons to the pound. And the feta is about what the, no, it's a little less than what the chef is, so you get a little less cheese out of the same amount that would give you 30 pounds of chef, maybe 25 pounds of feta.
About the same with
So
mozzarella.
the mozzarella is about the same as the feta. You get about a pound, yeah, it's just barely a pound to the gallon.
And it changes throughout the season.
When the season gets longer, the fat content usually goes up, so you do get a little more volume towards the end of the season.
Wow. And how many animals do you have between your kids and the milking goats?
Well, we're milking 38 right now.
Roughly
So
150
we have,
total.
Jack seems to think we have about 150 right now. That includes the babies from this year. This will not
That's
be
what she
through
said.
the next year, because we do sell off what we not keep for replacement.
That's kids, yearlings, does,
You know,
and bucks.
all, you know, because we keep about $3 for breeding in the fall. And we have a few dry yearlings, those from last year that we're going to be using as replacement. So yeah, probably about 150 altogether.
Sure. That's cool. So I found the video. So if you can unshare your screen real quick on the computer, I will share mine and we'll watch the cute little babies.
Let me see here. Here.
There we go. Okay. There we go. Those little cute things. All right.
So as you can see, we feed about 10 babies at a time off the bucket. And there's always a few
They're stupid.
that are, yeah, not quite as intelligent as the rest of them.
Gotta be quick.
And you can tell the rest of them, they're just waiting for their bucket to come along.
The bucket holds about 3.5 gallons.
So 3.5 gallons of milk goes into that bucket, and we share between 10, because they're not all going to get 10 goats, little goats don't get 3.5 gallons. That's about 2 pence worth. Sometimes 3, depends how old they are. You know, the older they get, the more milk they get.
And the one with the long tail isn't a goat.
Okay,
Goes to the end, I think.
that's about it, I think.
Got it. Okay. Yes, that was a cat. Yep. Yeah. Helen was wondering if that was a cat.
Yep, absolutely.
A long tail Siberian goat. Huh?
Texas, a long-tailed Siberian goat. Are we gone again?
What did you say?
I said, do you still hear us?
If you're trying to share your screen, I don't see it yet. No.
Oh,
Down the chair on the right hand side, I think.
There we go. Okay.
all right.
So I have
That
another
was our
question.
little presentation.
I have another question if no one else has some. How long does it take to go from milk to cheese?
That depends on the cheese. The chef takes about, from start to finish, about a day and a half. And the Kobe, that's about a day's project between starting the milk till the time it goes into mold. That's about a good 8 to 10 hours. Then the Kobe has to sit and dry off, and it has to ripen. And we wax it in between, and it needs to be turned. And about 6 weeks down the road, you can safely cut it. It's probably good to go. Sometimes I cut them a little earlier. They're really mild. You know, the younger it is, the milder it is. So I try to wait at least 4 weeks before we cut it. Since it's pasteurized milk, you don't have to observe the 60-day aging. If you do a raw milk cheese, you would have to let it age for at least 2 months before you can cut it and sell it.
Gotcha.
The feta is about like the chef, only that when the feta is done with draining, you will have to cut it up. We salt it, and it sits for another 2 or 3 days just to draw more of the whey out. And after that, it gets stored in a fridge, in the refrigerator. I got big, like ice cream tubs, the stainless steel tubs that you see like at Marble Slab, you know, where they keep the ice cream in. I've got big tubs like that. And it sits in brine. We keep it in brine in the refrigerator, and it never goes in the freezer. What else? The mods is probably the quickest. The mods you can do in about another 2 hours after the milk has been pasteurized and it's ready. So that's the quickest one out of the bunch. We have done some Swiss type cheese, and that is really labor intensive. You know, after it comes out of the mold, you have to let it sit at room temperature and wash it off with brine every day. That's part of the protocol. And before you get to set it out on the shelf, it has to sit in brine for about a day and a half, and just turn it and keep it in brine. That's how it's salted. And then, you know, it goes in there. We have a fridge that we use for aging, and that Alpine, I mean, the waste would go into the refrigerator for a while before it gets waxed.
And then you gotta shoot it full of holes.
And you have to turn it. So holes inside of the fridge, if you don't turn it, they all migrate to one side. So you're gonna have a solid side and a side with holes in it. So if you don't turn it regularly, those holes are not gonna be distributed evenly.
Gotcha. Okay, so Helen is asking, what is the productive lifespan of a goat? And I'm assuming that's for milk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That really depends on the animal. We've had some that were still milking and was, you know, and having babies at age 12, and I've had others that they were kind of petering out and kind of quitting on me about 10. So I would say between 10 and 13, that's probably a good lifespan right there.
But
Most of our dogs, we lose them if we keep them that long. We lose them at 13 or 14 years. That's about how long you expect them to be around.
we don't breed ours till they're a year and a half old.
And since we don't breed our goats until they're about a year and a half old, you kind of give them time to grow and develop before they start having babies. I mean, they would breed earlier than that, but we don't usually do that.
Sure. And about how much milk can you get off of one goat per day?
That depends on the goat too. I've got some that they milk anywhere between 3/4 to a gallon a day, and sometimes a little more. And then I have others. You get about half a gallon a day. Depends. That's individual.
Okay.
I have a question, Emily. This is Shelley.
Yeah, go for it.
Hey, so I'm just curious, maybe I missed it in the beginning if you said this, but how did you get into doing goats? Is this something that you like grew up with, or where did this start for you two?
It was an accident, really. We moved to Virginia in '93, and we got the goats in '94, and it kind of happened. We were going to look at fiber goats, and the lady we were going to go see to look at those goats canceled at the last minute because she had some other event pop up, and she just canceled us. And we had 3 young children, and they were all set to go see goats. So we pulled out the trading post, and we were looking to see who had goats in the trading post. And we went to see those 2 people, and one of them was the gentleman down in Markheim, and he had those alpine goats. All we had is registered alpine goats, and we loved those goats. And at the same time, it also was legalized that the dairies were allowed to use bovine growth hormone to increase milk production. And I said, well, if we get goats, let's get the dairy goats, and let's avoid the cow's milk with the bovine growth hormone. And that's how we got our first goats, and we started milking and really enjoyed it. And by 2008, we were ready to go have a dairy, which was an adventure in itself too.
First 2 goats had 6 babies. We had a full herd.
And yeah, like Jack said, our first 2 does that we had bought had a combined of 6 babies. So we went from 2 to 8 goats in a season, and never looked back. Neither one of us was raised on a farm. We lived in the country. You learn things by seeing things and being exposed to things, but neither one of us grew up on a farm.
So how much land does your dairy sit on?
We have 80 acres here, but one of them is a mountain, so we can't really use it much.
The dairy is only about
The dairy
an acre and a half, maybe 2 acres.
The dairy itself maybe 2 acres.
Wow. And do you keep
the name? Our name is a combination name. Ziegen means goat in German, and Wald is wood, or wood, forest. So we took part of the wood word and stuck it behind the goat. So we have goat wood, so to speak, if you translate it back. And that's Ziegenwald.
Very cool. So where are you two originally from? You mentioned that you moved to Virginia.
Yeah, Jack's a Yankee. He's a Connecticut Yankee. And I'm from overseas. I'm from Germany.
Okay. Very cool.
So we lived in Connecticut for about 12 years, and then we ended up down here.
So you mentioned at the beginning that you have to breed your female goats to get the milk. What primarily do you do with the kids then? Do you sell off a lot of the males? Do you keep some of the females to replenish your herd?
We always keep some of the females.
We keep most of the females. We keep most of the females.
And, we sell what we can, and what cannot be sold has to go to market. I hate doing that part of the job, but there's just no way that we can raise and keep and feed that many animals.
Sure. What's y'all's favorite flavor of your cheeses? Like, do you eat a lot of your cheese, or?
Well, I kind of like the garlic basil tomato. I know Jack likes the chive. I like some of the sweet ones too. I mean, I have to make them, so I have to kind of make sure that they taste okay. So, but I like the raspberry. Sometimes the plain is just fine because I can use the plain to do salad dressings with. You know, when you make a homemade salad dressing, instead of doing the ranch, you can use the cheese and do it that way with herbs. Because, you know, we've got the herbs out in the garden to make a really nice ranch type dressing with a plain chef. So, and you know, the feta on salad is nice too.
Sure. So, did I hear you mention that you have an herb garden?
Yeah.
Is that where you get? Go ahead.
The basil is homegrown, the dill is homegrown.
Chives,
The chives is,
sometimes.
we buy the chives in because I don't have enough chives to do all that. Let's see here, garlic. Until we run out, we usually grow our own garlic.
Or I get it at the farmer's market.
Or Jack picks it up at the farm. And last year he couldn't pick it up at the farmer's market because
Or in the market.
it wasn't there.
Sure.
But yeah. So
Well, that's great. Y'all have most of your stuff in house. It sounds like.
well, you kind of have to make it taste the way you want it to taste.
Sure.
I mean, the herbs when you buy them in, you really can't buy them in fresh because they go by too quickly. And if you buy them in already dried, then sometimes you get the flavor you want and sometimes you don't. And
Okay.
I keep my basil and my dill in the freezer. I don't dry it. And it comes from the freezer, you know, it breaks up real nicely when you have it frozen. And, you know, we grow the jalapenos. Jack does that for me. So the jalapenos that go in the cheese are homegrown too. With the sweet cheeses, the mulberry we make, the rest we buy in. You know, the peach, apricot, and raspberry, that's bought in. The jam that goes into that cheese, but the mulberry jam, I make that, if you can't really buy that. And that's going to come to an end eventually, because our mulberries always get hit by frost anymore in the springtime. And I think our mulberries for this year are already done with already.
Sure.
That last frost got them, got the buds, so I doubt that we're going to have many mulberries this year. Okay.
Okay. I had one other question, but it went out of my brain. Does anyone else in the audience have any questions for these two? So Helen is saying your garlic black pepper should win an award.
Thank you. Yeah, we've got one restaurant who likes that flavor too, and they buy it from us.
Used to.
So there's another question. Where else do you sell besides Boone Street Market and the Jonesboro Farmers Market?
We work with Blue Hills Market up in Abingdon. That's a little health food store
On Pecan Street.
on Pecan Street. Then White Birch gets their goat cheese from us. They're in Abingdon. And Harvest Table and Ridges in Jonesboro. Blackthorn Grill at the golf course. I think that's,
And the winery
and
in
then, you
Abingdon
know,
was just started.
on and off people, you know, they sporadically buy. And, Bristol Market, Norton, we do several farmers markets.
Sure. Okay.
And, if you want to, you can always come to the farm. We sell right off the farm too.
Just call first.
Call first, make sure somebody's home.
Right. So Shelley is asking, why did you choose to come to the Jonesboro Farmers Market?
Because you guys were nice enough to return our phone call. We
Oh,
had phone calls out to a couple other markets, and they never called us back. But we were just
Wow.
starting out. We had never done a farmer's market in our life. And we
Karen
just
said,
called
"Come
for
on down."
information and how to go about it, and Jonesboro called us back.
well, we snagged a good vendor then.
Yep.
So is there any goals or special things that you're working towards in the next couple of years, or just kind of keeping doing what you're doing now?
We're gonna keep on doing what we're doing. As long as I'm working full-time off the farm, I can't really expand our selection in cheeses. We're kind of busy with what we're doing, and I can't fit any more in. But, hopefully another year or so, and I can stay home and do different cheeses, and then maybe our marketing goes on a little bit, that we can expand to maybe more restaurants and more, event type things. But we do go to events in Kingsport when they're happening. With COVID last year, Exchange Place was canceled the whole year last year. We usually go there for their 2-day festivals in the spring and in the fall. So, with only limited personnel, workforce, you're kind of in a bind as to how much you can do during the year.
Sure. So then does Jack also work at all outside the farm, or is he the...
No, if he did work off the farm, then I don't think anything would be happening here.
Sure.
There's just no way. As it is, we're trying to cram more than 24 hours in a day, and it just does not work.
And then Karen Childress put in the chat, I just want to thank John and Andrea for being founding members of the Jonesboro Farmers Market. We are lucky to have you.
Thank you so much. We're lucky to have Karen. She was one big help when she was fully involved in that farmers market. And thanks to Karen, we were able to, surmount a few obstacles there.
Sure.
It's really, she's been very, very helpful through the years, and we really appreciate her.
She's great. Everybody, it seems like, with the organization is great.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I've had a wonderful time being here with everybody. So.
You sound as if you're leaving. Are you leaving?
Well, no.
Good.
There was a time when I might be leaving, but no. So.
That's good to know.
Okay. Any other questions for these two? I'm not seeing anything pop up and nobody's really unmuting, so unless there's anything else that you would like to say, I'll go ahead and end the recording and people can carry on with their afternoons. Lee just popped in really quick. Thank you for sharing with us. It's great to learn about how you make your cheese. We really enjoy the delicious cheese, and as do I.
If anybody's still on there, we really want to say thank you to the support that we have received through the COVID shutdown, through the online market, and through the support that we're still getting at the farmers market in the store. Thank you so much for that.
Well, thank you for staying with us all these years. So, all right. So with that, we'll wrap it up a little bit. I'll stop the recording, and y'all can stay on and chat or hop off and finish out your evening. Thanks you all for being with us. Just have a great week.
Thank you. Bye-bye.